All right, how's it going, guys?
Going great.
Thanks for having us.
That's good. Thanks for being on here. I'm right now interviewing a band called Sunset Mission, and we have three of the members here today.
Oh, we have a dog bark.
All good. Um, okay, can you first go through each of you and tell me your name and what instrument you play or what thing you do in the band?
You want to go first?
Sure. I'm Jess, and I am the vocalist. I also played a little bit of bass as well on the album.
I'm Jan.
Nice.
I play guitar and bass on the album a lot. A little bit of drums and background vocals.
All right.
Um, yeah, I'm Dana. I played drums on two songs, um, keys across most of the album except for some session players. And and yeah, I think that's and vocals, and I did vocals as well. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So where is your band from?
We are in the Boston area. We did a lot of the recording at my house in Allston, which is Boston. But Dana over there is in Bellingham, which is a little bit west of Boston.
Okay, cool. Over here, I'm in Massillon, Ohio. So,
Wow.
Nice.
um, okay. So, how did everyone meet in the band?
Dana, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So well, me and Jan met at the School of Rock in Boston, which is like an after school program for like kids trying to like play rock and roll. And
That's cool.
yeah, we started making original music there, and then we started our own band from there called Conundrum Nine. And then I started going to his private school called Sudbury Valley in Framingham, and that's where we met Jess, who started singing. Sort of started singing towards the end of Conundrum Nine. Like we thought it was like Conundrum Nine had a new singer or something like that, but then it sort of we were like, this sounds different than this is like a whole new. Now that we have like this like angelic female voice here, like this is like a whole nother thing. And so then
Yeah,
we called it Sunset Mission.
that's cool. Um, I wrote down a bunch of question stuff. So what would you say each of you individually is your influences as far as like bands or singers or whatever?
You guys can go.
Okay, I'll go first. Um, Bands that influenced me a lot growing up. When I was like 8, I really loved Metallica and like Dragon Force, and that's what got me into guitar. And then I was also listening to a bunch of video game music, and eventually got into more like prog music, like Pain of Salvation and Arion. And I kind of turned Dana onto prog, and uh, yeah, that's the brunt of it. But I listen to a lot of different music still.
Nice.
I've listened to mostly pop music growing up, but I think recently a lot of my influence has come from Fleetwood Mac and Steely Dan and other bands from that era.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, for me personally, I grew up listening to classic rock like exclusively. I actually like hated pretty much everything else until around when I met Jan, and he started showing me all this like really crazy prog stuff, like the band Pain of Salvation and Arion and like Star One and Kaipa, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like at first my ears were like uncomfortable. I was like, why is it so dramatic? Why is there so many instruments and layers and stuff like that? And I was trying to like, he was trying to get me into that, and at the same time I was trying to get Jan into like different like rock stuff like Black Sabbath and just like classic rock music. And so the when we started writing music, it was some kind of a combination between the two, like a medium. But then prog kind of won over time. I ended up getting like way more into prog. I mean, I'm still a fan of like a lot of those classic rock bands I used to like Pink Floyd and stuff like that. But now I'm like a huge Pain of Salvation fan, and like Ritual, the band. No one really knows Ritual. They're a very not well known band, but they're also like they became a huge influence. And yeah, the writing just got proggier and proggier because Jan and also his older brother was like super into progressive music and like whatever was weird, just like not normal at all. Like he was just all for it, and like showing us and like really kind of showed me what music was about in a way. So yeah.
That's cool, man. My first experience with prog music was Between the Buried and Me Colors. I remember listening to that CD and I was just like, what is this? This stuff is like amazing. And I was basically hooked on prog ever since. I wouldn't say it's my favorite genre, but it's definitely like top 5 as far as like rock and metal goes for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my top ones.
Yeah, I just like that it's just so limitless,
There's so much you can
progressive
do
rock,
with it.
progressive metal, especially like it's really it has no bounds. You can just do whatever you
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
It's very, very creative. Like you can put all different things in it.
Yeah.
I definitely dig that about it.
Yeah.
All right, so next question. How long have you sang or played your specific instrument?
Want to go first, Dana?
Sure. I started playing piano when I was like 3 years old, apparently. I don't really remember it. And then I started drums like around the age of 6. And then I started playing bass right around when I started going to School of Rock, like when I was about 11 or 12 years old. And I've kind of been singing, like half-ass singing, like my whole life. So like I'm just kind of like I kind of sing sometimes.
For me, I've been playing guitar since I was 8, and I learned bass shortly after. I don't really ever practice singing, so I do mostly just background vocals and stuff. I also don't practice drums much, but I did play some on the record because I have done a small amount of practice.
I think I got my first iPod when I was around 6 or 7, so I think I've been singing really since then, and I started playing bass around 13 or 14.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't play an instrument, but I do death growls.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I write lyrics and I do metal vocals. I've
We'll have to talk
sang.
after this meeting about that.
Yeah, I've been doing that since I was like 16, and I'm 33 now, so it's been a while, but I still enjoy it.
Oh, we'd love whenever you got the chance.
Oh yeah, we're always looking for growls. We have this other project called Poor Judgment where it's like just a metal band that we do when we on our spare time. So
That's really cool, man. All right, I guess I kind of somewhat already asked this a little bit, but not exactly. How did you guys come up with the band name?
oh, we were just looking for like creepy music one day, and we came across this band. I don't want to say it wrong. Do you know
The way we found it, I'll take it actually. My brother showed me this like dark jazz band called Boren and their Club of Gore, and they had a record called Sunset Mission that was like a very spooky, like ambient type of jazz record, and we really liked walking around like in cemeteries and listening to it and stuff.
Yeah.
So
We-
it was so cool. Sunset Mission that we just stole it.
Yeah, we did. We did. We just, yeah, I didn't even know actually, Jan, that Jakob knew about that because I remember I found it just by literally like I found it on my own too, and then I guess Jakob just like knows every band, but yeah, Jakob was telling us that like he was like this can't be Conundrum 9 anymore, like like it's just it doesn't sound like Conundrum 9, and then we were like, all right, and he's the one who gave us sort of the idea of taking from an album, of like taking the name of an album and using it as your band name, and made that feel like it was an okay thing to do. So we were like, sure.
I've actually there's a couple bands that I like that did the same method of they like Cynic. They have a song called Veil of Maya, and one of the bands I really like is called Veil of Maya. And there's other bands, for example, that's just one of them. But I'm pretty sure that's pretty normal to do if you really like a band, you really like a song. It's like, hey, this is a good name.
Yeah.
So there's others I just can't think of any right now for some reason. But.
Yeah, now we have someone else named their band after one of our song names, which is pretty cool. Our friend
Cool.
from college, Ben, yeah, he's putting out some insanely good metal soon. So keep a
Nice.
lookout, for Time Station. Yeah.
Might be changing his name, I think.
Oh,
I'm not
you
sure.
think?
Because someone else had the name.
Yeah. Well,
I
we'll
guess
see.
that
We'll definitely like, be probably posting about it and stuff because we also like played on some of his music. So
Nice. I was gonna say most of the bands you guys named that you were talking about earlier, I think I've heard of a couple of them, but I don't know if I actually really listened to them that much, which to me is kind of surprising because I feel like I know quite a lot of good music and stuff. So I might have to check some of those out that you guys were talking about, because I'm always down to check something new out. But
that's
I love sharing music with other people that they've never heard of.
yeah. People are telling us we sound like things that I've never heard of before. Like
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's good. Then you can't say, "Hey, we just copied this band or whatever." If you never even heard them, it's like, "Hey, we didn't even know they existed. We just made this music, and this is what it sounds like."
yeah,
So that's cool.
Pain of Salvation, Remedy Lane is, I think, their best album.
that's the one to check out for sure.
Okay.
Remedy Lane by Pain of Salvation is incredible. It's really, really good. And oh, and I should absolutely mention like my personal favorite. I don't know about those guys, but Sweet Trip is like the best. They have this album called Velocity, Design, and Comfort that's blown my mind like a million times. It's really, really good. So
Nice. Yeah, I always like really out there. Like he was talking about that. I already forget the band, but dark jazz was the genre or something. Anything that's like outside the norm, I'm like, what is this? Usually it's some hidden gem that's good.
yeah,
So
yeah, they're definitely not like prog rock. Like they're like glitch shoegaze. Like it's just a completely different thing. But
yeah, it's funny. The more music you search out, the more genres you discover. That's like, what is
Yeah.
this?
oh yeah,
So, but I think that's really cool though when you find a whole new genre or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, now all these bands I'm interested. Like me personally, my favorite genre is metal, but I do like rock and like a little bit of everything. The only thing I can't get into is country because I've tried and I just can't do it. The best I can do is a few female country singers because I like their voice, but with guys, for me, it always sounds pretty much the same.
I
yeah.
love John. I've been getting into John Denver a lot.
Yeah, that's the one. If any of them, I mean, because that's really like my one exception. I think, and I don't even know if you'd call it like country or not. Like some of his music is
Yeah.
it's borderline folk or like I don't know what. It's just beautiful songs. It's just like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
I
know.
always challenge my friends that say they like country. I'm like, dude, show me a song that actually doesn't sound like all the rest. Or show me something that's a little bit, interesting or a little bit better, maybe a notch above the other ones. So far, I haven't really heard much, but
Yeah,
always open to giving it a chance.
it's a pretty yeah. There's not that much in that I've been able to find in that genre for sure. I don't really like
Yeah.
country. Yeah.
All right. So here's an interesting one. What band or bands would be on your dream tour, like touring with you guys?
Oh, geez, animals as leaders.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, they're
Yeah.
good. They're pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would be a great one because they have a really big following, and but their music is really open-minded, and Tosin's
Yeah,
a beautiful songwriter. So
yeah, he's a really talented
and Matt
guy.
Garska is just like the best drummer in the world, so it would be really fun to hang out with him as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you guys think? What other bands?
Um, I don't know. I really like Pain of Salvation. That would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Because they're a really good touring band.
So I actually just thought of this question. I didn't write it down, but um, have you guys were you guys touring pretty heavily before the pandemic, or not really much, or
Nope.
I'm just okay?
Show.
Not at all.
Never
No.
played a show with this group.
We've never played a show with a full ensemble. We've done sort of we've gone busking as a trio. We've done weird stuff like little acoustic sets and stuff where we've played like Sunset Crater. We played once like in a church. Um, and yeah, me and Jan have played out live a lot with our band before this one, but this one we really pushed the boundaries in the studio, and to be able to play that material live is going to be a challenge, a real challenge. But
Yeah,
we're all talking about it and trying to put the puzzle pieces together. It's been years. And it could be more years before that really happens, or not. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. So you guys basically looking forward to when all this stuff is kind of passed over, and then you'll be like, "Hey, we can go on tour, maybe,
And
or
then
something."
we can start rehearsing at the very least.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, if you guys ever drop by Ohio, I'd be happy to check out a set for
Hell yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. So that album came out, I believe, what was it, November, or at least on Spotify, it said November 16th, 2019, I believe,
Yeah, I think that's right.
which is funny because it's the day after my birthday.
Oh,
It's the
cool.
15th. But I literally didn't hear you guys, or I didn't hear the CD till like last week, and I was like, this is pretty good. So, and then I had this idea kind of to like, hey, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel where, I want to interview maybe some people from bands and talk about hobbies I like and music and stuff. And I don't know, you guys are basically the first people that were like, hey, that sounds cool. So I was like, hey, let's do it.
Funny, this is
Yeah.
our first interview as well.
First
Oh,
interview,
that's cool.
first interview
Yeah,
here.
so you guys will be the first video on my channel. So
Awesome.
that'll be cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a first for all of us. It's
Yeah. So since that came out, like, would that be 2 years ago then, almost,
Wow.
the album?
yeah, like 1.5 or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. Do you guys have any stuff in the works, or not really yet, or just curious?
So, how do I say this? We do have another Sunset Mission single in the works right now, not a full album at the moment, but Dana and his friend Colin have been kind of the masterminds of a different project called Blackwater Flood, and we are kind of split releasing a 16-minute long like prog song with Blackwater Flood.
Dang.
So that should be on our Spotify as like a split release.
And that'll be out on March 12th, so pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
We got it mastered by Forrester Savell because we really liked his work on Animals as Leaders.
Oh, nice.
Mm.
Yeah, they always have great recording on their albums,
Oh yeah.
great production and all that. It's funny, you said did you say the song or the album? You said the song was going to be like 60 minutes, right?
It's a 16-minute long song, yeah.
That's funny because I mean, I know of older bands like like my dad's told me about like Yes and stuff. Their songs are like really long, but the longest song that I've ever heard that of a band that I like is called "Swim to the Moon" by Between the Buried and Me. It's like 25 minutes long. They played it live, And I was just like, I think it was the encore song, and I was just like, this is like their longest song, but I was like, awesome, you know.
Yeah, we'll
So
have to check that out. Have not heard it.
yeah,
So
if you guys have not heard of Between the Buried and Me, they're probably my favorite prog metal band.
I personally haven't. I don't know. Have you guys?
Between the Bird and Me, I've heard of them. I haven't listened to much at all.
Their old stuff is more in the death metal like area, and then they went to progressive metal, and now it's like, I mean, it had a lot of screaming, but the singing, he's probably one of my favorite like regular singers because his voice is so versatile. But their newer stuff is mainly almost all singing. There's like barely any screaming, which I'm fine with because I really like his voice. And I mean, you guys might be more into that because I don't know how much, you know, metal you guys are into, but
Metal.
Yeah, we love metal, but we
oh,
also
that's
like,
good.
but like Opeth did the same thing where they released like an album with just singing on it, and that's like I haven't really listened to the other Opeth records that much, but
Yeah.
Damnation, hats off to Damnation. Damnation's beautiful. So um yeah, yeah, but we'll have to check out Between the Buried and Me. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good. So, all right. So in you guys' words, how would you best describe your music? Like the genre, for fans of, similar to? I'm just curious how you would phrase it or word it.
I think we would all phrase it a little bit differently, honestly.
Yeah.
What would you phrase it as?
Uh Me, right? Okay. I guess I mean it's kind of like us just kind of taking from a lot of stuff at once and just putting it together in sort of random ways. So, I mean, prog sums it up fine for me. Like just like prog, like that's it. Like I don't know, because it's like when you say prog metal, it's like no, not really. There's elements, but then it does get metal. So to call it prog rock, it's like well, I don't know. And funk, there's funk in there, and that's our good friend Sam, Grand Commander, got us into the funk. So we can thank him for that. That's where like all the funk elements come from.
Say the same, like prog or progressive funk.
Yeah.
For me, I would add like a layer of like psychedelic. We're definitely trying to make a psychedelic experience for people when we're
Yeah.
making.
Yeah.
And there's some like soundscapey like ambient influence in there too, and also like pop. Like the melodies aren't super complicated and they're singable, so there's definitely some pop influence in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because people, sometimes, especially when it comes to metal, they like to label things a certain way. And sometimes when you see a certain label or people see it, they're like, "Oh, I don't like this kind of metal, or I don't like this kind of music, so I'm not gonna listen to it." I think that's kind of sad, but when I find a band, like for example, you guys, I just like listing like everything either it sounds like or everything that I hear that, you know, the different elements or whatever, which is pretty much what you guys did. So I mean, when I was hearing it, I was thinking of like, let me see if I wrote it down, but off the top of my head, I was like groove, uh, a lot of melody, like you said, ambient. Um, like I would, if I would pick what I would label it as, is probably progressive rock, but elements of many of the things you guys listed, because it's not, like you said, not exactly prog metal, but not exactly prog rock. Kind of like a good mixture of like different things, like you guys were talking about. But a few words I wrote down that would describe the album, because I heard it that one time, and then I was listening to a couple songs when I was writing the questions just to kind of refresh my memory, because I listen to a lot of music. Like I'm either at the gym listening to music or driving the car or at home listening to music, because I'm a really big music fan. So there's always,
Yeah.
almost every week there's some band that I like came out with a new album, or some band I've never heard of that I heard one song that was awesome, and I'm like, oh, I got to check out their album, or you know, stuff like that. So, but a couple of the words I wrote down was refreshing, groovy, peaceful, relaxing, smooth, stuff like that, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the album. I was before I reached out about the interview, I was thinking about just doing a review of the album, but then I was like, I don't think I've heard it enough times to actually like fully, do a deep dive and review it, because most of the time when if I review an album to like a friend or something, just like real quick version, like I'll tell them, oh, this song is good, this song's not that good, this one talks about this and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I just enjoyed it as a whole, and I didn't really, I guess, pay too much attention just because it's kind of in the background. But I was like, hey, this is peaceful, it's cool, it's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah. Um, I can tell you the story of how I discovered your band, which I don't think I told you this, but I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw like an ad for Spotify, and there was like a short clip. I was like, oh, this sounds kind of different. Like, I should check this out. And I do this all the time. Like, I'll find like a sponsored video and it sounds pretty good. So I'll like send it to myself on Facebook Messenger and I'll just listen to it like at a later date. But I think that's what I did. Well, I got on there and I checked it out. And I'm like, all right, let's see if they got any music videos. And I'm like, I didn't see any. So I was like, oh, I'll download or I'll get on Spotify and look for the album. And then I found it and I was like, hey, it's pretty good.
So
Yeah.
I guess the ads are working.
Yeah, I would say I'm proof that they're working. So
Yeah, that's
not money wasted there for sure.
yeah, that's fun. That's awesome. Yeah.
I think it said on your guys' like bio or whatever that you're an independent band, so you're not signed, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm doing most of the annoying stuff, like setting
Jan
up
does everything.
Facebook ads and legal crap and all that.
Yeah.
I just comment and add to people. That's all I do.
So I have a question about that. Do you guys prefer it that way, or would you rather be like signed to a record label? Because I know some artists are like, oh, we don't want to be tied down, because some record labels like say you got to release this type of music or you got to change this. You know what I mean? So I was just curious what you guys thought.
I'm definitely in favor of being independent, especially in these days. I think record labels have become a lot more outdated than they used to be, for many reasons. But it's just really hard to make money as a musician, and having a record label taking most of your money doesn't help. And especially when you can just take care of it all yourself, and it's not really that much different,
Yeah. I've definitely realized from bands I've liked when they've gotten, like they were, I guess, quote unquote, local band, just, I guess, not signed and then signed, how sometimes it like ruins the band. Like they just don't sound, I know, because I've experienced this many times where I really like a band's like debut album, and then a couple albums later, like they completely don't sound good anymore. And I'm like, what happened? I don't know if that's the record label forcing a certain like agenda, or if it's like they're like, oh, we're gonna switch it up. We're bored of our old sound or whatever. Sometimes that's the thing. Sometimes it works when bands change sound. That's why I like when bands are very versatile and they do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because then if they go one direction or the other, the fans don't freak out. And I figure letting a band do whatever they want to do is the best thing. And then because I have bands that I love that I might not really like a couple of their CDs, but most of them I really enjoy them, and I don't like dislike the band anymore. But I have noticed some bands that release consecutively like a bunch of like not so great albums, and their only good ones to me anymore is the old ones. I'll still check them out every time they put out a new album, but most of the time I'm like, I'm not really expecting, because how some bands, they get tired of their old sound and they're like, we're going to do something new.
Yeah.
Like, for example, metal bands going softer doesn't always equal good, and vice versa, which I don't think many bands really go from softer to heavy, but that's always something interesting to see, because I've noticed in the metal like fandom or circle that usually if it's like heavier bands, it's like more, it's either if you're heavier or have a catchy chorus. Those are the two things that make you the most well known or the most popular among the fans. So if you try something different, it's like, I don't know about that. But like I said, it's good to be open and try things, and sometimes it works. Like some some bands that like I was talking to you about this last time, the Contortionists, their first CD is like really heavy, and their newer stuff is like very soft. Like I was telling him, similar music wise to you guys' stuff, like progressive rock. And he has a really good singing voice, and it just reminded me. And it was funny because when I searched in Spotify, it had for fans of the Contortionists or other people
Yeah.
listen to this band. I was like, oh, now it makes sense because I heard it when I was listening. I'm like, this sounds kind of like you guys. So
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. A few people mentioned the Contortionists, so
yeah,
um,
definitely one of my favorite bands. So if you haven't heard of them, you should check them out.
that's cool. Yeah, I just checked out like their newest record when it was mentioned to me, and it sounded really good. I didn't listen to it. I didn't really have much time to listen to it that much, but
Yeah.
I'll I'll open it back up.
All right.
Ron.
So this might be kind of a I don't know if it's a goofy question, but
Go for
what
it.
is the what is the majority of the lyrical content about? Since I was just too busy lost in the good melodies of the singing, I guess I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics all that much.
That's a Dana question.
Is whatever came to mind. Yeah, I wrote like most of the lyrics with the help of Jan, but I'll have to like yeah, it's a tough question. It really was like a whatever came to mind kind of thing, and reflecting on like our lives, and like I don't know. It was like, yeah, whatever came to me, I'd write it down, and if it sounded cool, sound really came first. I like write for the sound a lot. So, yeah.
I think there's like particular meanings behind every song, but they're a little bit subdued, and like we kind of need to expand on it because we wrote it a long time ago without really like keeping track of what the songs were really about. But they do have meanings. We just haven't really thought about it much
It's
since.
funny, like I'm the kind of person that listens to music and just the lyrics usually kind of go right over my head, unless there's like a few exceptions to that actually, where like the lyrics are important, but most of the time it's just like I listen to the melodies and I focus in on the melodies. So, but I love vocals. so,
Same here, man.
so I was like, all right, got to write some lyrics, and so I just tried to, yeah, do my best.
So here's a another question off bouncing off that. Whenever you guys write lyrics, do you already have the song recorded and you kind of hear the song and then write the lyrics, or do you have the lyrics written before? I'm just curious personally because I write lyrics also.
Yeah, there was never like poetry lying around where we were like, oh, we should turn that into a song. that never, that never happened. It was like the song was done, and then we were like, all right, we got to write the lyrics before before we gotta. um, yeah, we never did things in that order. Actually, um, the second lyric on the whole album was written by my friend Colin of our other project, Blackwater Flood, and he didn't write it for the music. It was just something he had lying around on his phone. The echoes of my mind collide, and then so I just took it from him and used it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, usually when I write lyrics, I'll listen to music that kind of inspires me or gets the creative juices flowing, and then I'm like, all right, I'm typing away or writing away at whatever lyrical theme I'm working on, and that's how I usually do it. But that's like without hearing the song, and then I just take whatever ones I think are interesting and I put them on the song that I choose. So
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely had like vague meanings for things when I was writing. It was never like really specific. I didn't want to write that way, you know. I didn't want to write like a song about a specific person or an object or whatever. I just like
yeah,
things were really vague, and like but there was like there was meanings for it and the ideas, like imaginary ideas, like going to space and like stuff like that. And like
I was gonna say the typical cool prog
yeah,
kind of
yeah, just that.
usually dealing with stuff that's like, out there, or I don't know, more interesting than like that's one thing I like about progressive rock and progressive metal, and just like metal in general. The lyrical, like, there's like no limits to what the lyrics can be about. It can be about fantasy, real life, uh, pretty much anything. That's, I don't know. I just really not a huge fan of like mainstream type stuff because it's always the same lyrical content, and I feel like it's very watered down and not very deep. It's just like very surfacey. So
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to try to talk about what the lyrics are about. It's like, um it would you have to get me into a pretty vulnerable state and I'd like spill some of it. Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of like space and all that, how did you guys come up with the idea for the album cover? I think it looks pretty cool, by the way.
Oh, that's Andrew Prinz of Mahogany uh designed that for us. Yeah. He also did the album art for the record Velocity Design and Comfort by Sweet Trip. So that's how we found out about him.
Nice. I've found out through for being a fan of music for a while that I think one of the most important things for an album, besides obviously how it sounds, is the album art. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times that'll pull me in, like, oh, this looks really cool, and then it's like it almost adds an extra part of the experience when you listen to the album.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with you now. I mean, I didn't used to think that way. I was like, oh, it's the music's the important part. But now I think, no, like you have to have a good cover. That's what, that's the draw. And it's like it's always going to be attached to that. Um, so it's important. It's definitely important. I didn't yeah, we didn't really come up with the design, but I did have some like vague stuff that I told Andrew. I was like, I want there to be like a key or like a moon. Just like have a moon and a key and maybe like a fortress or something. He was like, I got this.
I think he did a pretty good job
Yeah.
because I looked at it, I was like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I said it looks cool. So
Yeah, I love what he's done.
Yeah, he's great.
yeah, I don't really know the name of the artist, but if you guys, I don't know if you heard the band Fallujah, the one album cover, The Flesh Prevails. It's one of my favorite pieces of art like ever. I like it so much. When I got the pre-order, I got the wall flag and I got it hanging in my kitchen. But it's funny because I went to an anime convention, and I think the same guy was there selling paintings, and I got like a smaller painting that I got hanging up, and I'm like, I would say I'm like 98% sure it's the same exact artist. And I was just like, dude, because he was selling pictures of the same exact album cover. And I was just sitting there like, dude, it's the guy. I was like, I don't think he was there because he was not able to be there, but I think somebody was helping him sell it, like his wife or whoever. But I was just like, it's that guy. And like, the art is so good. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What is your favorite song on the album? Like individually, I'm just curious.
Oh, you guys first. I don't know. I have to think about it.
I think definitely Redemption Drive. It's a bit more fast paced, and I really love that.
Cool.
Nice.
Probably Kaleidoscopic Key.
Lunar Castellum.
I think when I was kind of going through it again the other day, I was like thinking, well, what's my favorite song? I'm like, I'm gonna have to hear this a couple more times before I decide. But I enjoyed, I'd say, pretty much the entire thing. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Huh. Um, this is more of like a general question, but I was just curious what you guys thought. In your honest opinion, what makes an album good versus what makes it like average or, not really that great, I guess, or what makes it like stick out or memorable as opposed to, you know, like it could be with your album or albums you've heard that you've enjoyed. Like, what do you like? This is just like a general question. Just
I
to see
I
what you guys
really
think.
like when an album puts me in a place and does not um, try and do something fancy and take me out of that place. I like it when there's a theme. It doesn't have to be always consistent, but I like it when there's a theme that it's stuck to. And um, yeah, that's about what I would say.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah. Um, Jess, I don't know if you have anything to say. Do you have? All
I'm
right.
not much of an album person.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I guess I just like um I like an adventure and I just like things that break the rules, you know. I don't like when it the whole time it just sounds like it's like following some kind of a rule book and everything's really uniform.
Yeah,
I just get bored with that, and I like when people aren't afraid to do whatever they want. Like that excites me. I like I like I like when I listen to things and I'm like I feel that it's really truly creative because they don't care what people think. Yeah.
yeah. I would say for me personally, I prefer, or I would say some of my most favorite albums are the ones that I can't just shut off my brain and, just be mindlessly listening to with them in the background. It's something I'm like focused on, like something I try to do when I listen to a new album of a band I really like or something I'm expecting that's going to be really good. I'll try to tune everything else out and just kind of focus on the music. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, "Oh, I'll just play it in the background," or like I still do that, but that's after I've heard it at least. Especially if it's something I know is probably going to be really special. I'm like, I'm gonna fully, immerse myself in this
Yeah.
and check it out thoroughly. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
agree with you there. I feel like I do feel like listening to music in the background is like its own thing, and there's music that does a really good job being in the background and kind of making things feel like a movie or like really truly setting a scene. I think in the album it's Immaterial by what's the band called? Black Marble. Yeah, is a good example of that. But yeah, I also like to really dive in, you know, with headphones and just like give the music 100% of my attention.
yeah, I mean, I'm still just as much into music as I've ever been, but I think back in the day, I went a little bit overboard. Every time I went to a show, I'd buy like every band shirt I wanted, and I stopped buying CDs as soon as I got Spotify. I have over 600 CDs, and like CDs are just like going out of like basically becoming extinct. So I'm hoping they might make a return like the vinyl and all that. I mean, I thought about switching to that, but I'm like, that's a lot of stuff to buy, if I still want to
Yeah.
listen. So
Yeah, I got a record player for Christmas. I haven't even used it like because I can't like figure out how to like get it plugged into my speakers. So it's just kind of sitting there. I don't even really know what it sounds like at all.
yeah.
It's complicated.
I guess here's another on the spot question that I just thought of. What's your favorite way to listen to music? Like headphones, speakers, Spotify, YouTube, record player, like
Car,
individually.
definitely.
Car.
Um, for me, I like headphones the most. It feels like I'm listening to music inside my head, rather than in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to be a huge headphones guy, but I don't listen to music through headphones that much these days because like it like my ears are like sensitive, so I just like listen through speakers usually, but like a good set of monitors will definitely do the trick
Yeah.
as long as
I've
it's
actually
stereo.
noticed.
Yeah?
Oh, sorry, I didn't
No,
mean to
no
cut
worries.
you off. I was just gonna say I've noticed over the years that some albums sound better in the headphones and some sound better on the speaker,
Mm,
which is weird because I don't know if it's the way they mix it or what it is, but like certain albums, like I'm trying to remember one specifically. There's one album by Radiohead that they mixed in a certain way so the sound and the instruments are like always like traveling around, bouncing from ear to ear. So that's like one of the albums I guess it's better to hear in the headphones as opposed to I don't know, sometimes it sounds different. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it, but like from the speaker to the headphones.
yeah, totally. It totally does. It's I've been just noticing more and more the more I'm getting into like production, mixing and stuff like that over the years, how different every set of speakers is. Just it's insane the difference. It's like really, really different. Like when people tell me that they listen to anything, I'm like, what'd you listen to it on? Because that's like a
Yeah.
big part of what it sounded like. Um, yeah, the old stuff, like a lot of the time sounds better through speakers because they didn't really use headphones that much. So there'll be like the drums will be like in the left or some crazy nonsense like that. Like it's just like it's all panned out like crazy through headphones. It sounds super weird, like stuff like the Beatles stuff and like I'm like Stevie Winwood. The vocals is like panned out, so like there's just like the dry completely in one ear and just like a little reverb in the other, stuff like that.
Here's another random question. If you guys could like pick out one band that you'd say if somebody said, "Hey, what's a band that you would recommend to me that you would say is like probably one of the best bands?" Who would you name? Just as like for the people that are watching this and me, I'm always curious to check out new bands.
Sweet Trip.
Sweet
Just
Trip would be a good one.
yeah, immediately. Just Sweet Trip.
Oh yeah, Sweet Trip.
Especially they yeah, they don't actually they have a good following, but like they're not huge. So like I'm all for like spreading the word about Sweet
They're
Trip.
not as huge as they should be.
No, they
Hmm.
should be way bigger, yeah.
Yeah, I've often found that with many bands. Like it makes me upset when I see bands that are like pretty much average that have like so many fans, and then bands that are like so much more talented and they no one's heard of them. So it's like they nobody knows, but I think that's kind of cool though. Sometimes it's like discovering like a treasure. Like oh, nobody. I'm the only person I know that knows this band. You know, it's pretty cool. But that's when I always try to share them with other people. And that's probably one of my favorite things to do is listen to music and then share it with people that I think will enjoy it. And then when they enjoy it, I'm like, cool, man. Like you like it too. So
Yeah. I'm really bad at that. I'll show people music and they're just like, I hate this. I'm like, oh, oops, wrong band. I guess this I gotta keep trying.
it is funny though because sometimes certain friends don't like the type of music I do, and I'm in like an online band, me and this guy from Canada, and we're working on an album. It's like I guess death metal, deathcore, whatever. But I released like one of the songs, and my buddy heard it, and he's like, "I hate it, but good job, man," because he doesn't like any metal at all. I'm like, "Hey, at least you're supporting. You know, that's cool. I appreciate it."
Thank you. Thank you.
So
That's
I wonder if you guys ever had that where you showed your band to one of your friends or something, and they're like, "I don't like this," or I
yeah,
don't know what this is.
yes,
This is strange." Or
definitely. It's definitely happened, especially with our metal project, Poor Judgment. We've just like really like my mom just like hates it. She just hates anything that has like screaming or it's like overbearingly heavy.
yep, Same with my mom, man. And I grew up practicing screaming for years at my house. And my mom was always like, I played it, I'm getting a headache. And I do, I'm getting a headache, I'm sorry. But that's what I like. So
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's funny too, because my dad for the longest time was like, oh, I don't know about this music. And now he actually likes some of the bands that have screaming that I showed him. I'm like, cool.
yeah. I got like super into metal screaming pretty late, like around 2017. I just like went through a bad breakup, and that's all it took. I was just that was like after that, I was like, it was my favorite thing. Like, oh, and then after, and then it became it. And then it like it was out of anger, but then it was like after that, it started to be something else. Like I just started to really like it, and it started to sound kind of like beautiful. Sometimes it's just like
Yeah.
a completely different form after a while. I was like, wow, this is really nice, and it's just really it's just like intense, you know.
Yeah. So what I've found over many years of me listening to plenty of metal music is people that don't really listen to it always have the funniest things to say and reactions. Like some guy I used to work with was like, yeah, I listened to a Lamb of God song and I wanted to run people over on the road. I'm like, then you probably shouldn't listen to that kind of music. Like, it's probably not good. But like, he's like, how can you listen to it and like not want to beat people up? I'm like, dude, I can fall asleep to it. It puts me in a good mood. It makes me
Yeah,
smile.
I know
I
that
was
they're
like, it
really,
makes me, yeah,
yeah,
makes me motivated to like work out and clean and do
yeah,
things and excited.
for
My,
real.
bro- my brother listens to all sorts of like avant-garde, like brutal death metal. It's just like way,
Disgorge.
and like
Dude,
he's
that's what I love about metal. There's like so many different types of like they can throw anything in there and make it work most of the time. So I just like the diversity in it because a lot of other genres of music, I would say prog is definitely a main one that has you can basically fuse with anything and or progressive rock or progressive metal. But there's so many different like experiment. I really enjoy experimental stuff. Like you guys ever heard of the? I think the band's called Igor.
yeah, I've heard that.
It's
Not,
like the electronic experimental. His stuff is so strange, but I'm like, dude, this would be amazing to see in concert. And he's like, he's very creative. He
Yeah,
has like opera in it, some metal screaming, like all it's all over the place, like one end of the spectrum to the other. So I basically went through most of my questions, but if you guys
all
would
right.
like to uh, say anything else, like if for people watching this video that might not have heard of you or might have heard of you, anything you'd like to say to them, I guess.
Did, just by your reaction, it looks like you also like
Yes.
noticed that you were just freezing like crazy.
Yeah,
And
I was like, they not know if they should say anything or what's going
no,
on.
no, you were actually just like it was like
That's cool.
your voice was like
Yeah,
getting
my
low. It was
my
just,
internet's not the best sometimes. Sometimes it's pretty bad.
yeah.
So
Maybe we should
been
have
um,
doing all right so
done
far.
with Twitch.
I don't
um,
know. Did you say anything?
we got CDs coming out soon.
Yeah, we do.
Nice.
They're
Yeah, I
not completely
actually
extinct.
yeah, I actually noticed that when I looked on you guys' store, I was like, they got coffee mugs, posters, and shirts, but I'm like, where's the albums at?
Yeah,
I was just curious.
They're
coming.
wicked
Actually,
soon.
I'm having one sent to me right now, so I can look at it and see if it's
Yeah,
good.
they're coming soon.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Man, thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
thank you for talking with me. It was real cool to meet you guys and talk about, the album and music and stuff. So
Yeah.
I look forward to the new song or whatever new stuff is in the future. So and the thing you said, the side project or whatever.
The
I forget what
collabs,
it's called.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm terrible with remembering stuff. But yeah, I remember
No,
you said
no.
something.
Yeah, no worries. Well, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Have a
thanks.
good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Yep.
meeting.
It's been great.
Yeah, you guys have a good rest of your night and thanks for the interview.
Oh
You
yeah.
too.
Peace.
All right.
See
See
ya.
ya.